Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is your girl, Goddess of Love and Truth Reacts, coming to you with another reaction video upload. Hold on, let me turn my heater off. I hope y'all can't hear that, but I'm gonna turn it off for just a brief moment. But yep, coming to you guys with another video reaction upload. Make sure that you click the subscribe button, click that bell notification for all so that you never miss an upload. Make sure that you like the video, share the video, and leave a comment down below. When you're liking the video, it puts us in the YouTube algorithm. So if you're watching the video, if you like the video, be sure to go ahead and like that video so I can get in and remain in the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys. It is greatly appreciated. All right, so I wanted to come to you today. It's Friday. Happy Friday to all, and have a great weekend as well. I wanted to bring you guys an update on the Kim Porter book memoir. Now, if you haven't checked it out already, because I know the book was on sale on Amazon and then they ended up taking it down because of Diddy's kids put a cease and desist out on Chris Todd. A lot of people were saying that they believed that the book was fake. I had ordered the book, then I canceled the book, then I reordered the book because I was like, you know what? I believe this man. After he did that interview on Law and Crime, I believed everything he said. So I went ahead and I ordered the book. And when I tell y'all, the very next day is when they took it down. So I was so happy that I was able to get my order placed, and I got the book and I read the entire book in part. So it's 4-part video. I read the entire book over on my book crew channel, which is called Goodreads Book Crew. So if you want to hear the reading of that book, go over to Goodreads Book Crew. That way you can check out all 4 videos of the reading of that book. So I did another video updating you guys on the gentleman by the name of Courtney Burgess. So Courtney Burgess, when they first introduced us to him, they said he was an associate of Kim Porter. And he was the one that Kim Porter gave her drives to, that had the videos of what Diddy did with the minors, as well as her book that she was writing, or her memoir. We're going to call it a memoir because it's not a long one, because one, she didn't get to finish writing it. So everybody knew that Kim had written a book and she gave it to somebody, and people keep thinking that it was going to be like one of her closest friends, but it makes sense for her not to give it to one of her closest friends because all of her closest friends were friends with P. Diddy. And just like all of them, none of them came out and said anything when she passed. They know that she was involved. I thought Kimora would be the one that would come out and say something, but when you read the book, Kimora also had dealings with Diddy. All of them had dealings with Diddy. Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans, all of them, all of their loyalty went with Diddy. When Kadita, Tupac's girlfriend, was confronting Diddy, Kimora was the one that intervened and tried to stop her. So she was basically protecting Diddy. So it makes sense why Kimora isn't speaking, but she was supposed to be one of her closest friends. But come to find out, they was also involved sexually, her, Diddy, as well as Kim Porter. So it makes sense. It makes sense why none of her closest friends she would have given that information to, because their loyalty is with Diddy, or they can be paid off. So we wanted to know, I wanted to know, how was Courtney Bridges an associate of Kim Porter? Well, this video that we're going to watch today is an interview with Jesse Weber from Sidebar. He was the same person that interviewed Chris Todd. Chris Todd is the author who put the Kim Porter memoir out, and everybody was just mad that he put it out because he was a white man. They was like, oh, this white man shouldn't be putting it out. They didn't care about the factualities or the information in, they're probably not even a word, but they didn't care about the information in the book, because once they found out it was a white man, then they were like, oh no, the kid should have got it, da 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 da. Well, come to find out, Courtney Bridges did an interview with the news station. I did that on my channel as well, so you can go back through my videos and you can pull that. And him and his attorney did mention that the book that Chris Todd put out was indeed the book. However, it was edited. Some of the information was left out, and he added a little bit because, like, when how Kim wrote it, some of it didn't make sense. He took out the pictures, he took out the videos, and he edited the book as well as redacted. But he also told us, Chris Todd told us himself, that he edited the book to make it flow, and he also redacted some of the names. But he also stated that later on down the line, once the person who gave him the information gives the okay, they will put out the full book with the names in there, and they're not going to be redacted. So we're going to know exactly who he was talking about. Each person whose name was left out is going to be added to the book. He would not reveal his sources and say who gave him the book. Courtney Bridges mentioned it in the interview that yes, he did it. And then today, if there was any doubt, his attorney is speaking on it today, and she said yes, Courtney Bridges gave Chris Todd the okay to release the book with the edited version and the redacted version. Their goal was always to eventually put out the full book, the same as what Chris Todd said. Chris Todd could not release his source, but if his source wanted to reveal themselves, which they did, which is Courtney Burgess. Now, how does Courtney Burgess know Kim Porter? He don't really know Kim Porter, and that was a good thing. She couldn't give it to somebody who would be on Diddy's side. She had to give it to somebody who was against Diddy or considered Diddy as an enemy. Well, come to find out that Chris Borges is a friend, or was a friend, of Tupac. And if y'all read the book, or if y'all listened to me read the book, Kim had a love affair going on with Tupac. Diddy did not like that. And Diddy wanted to get down with Tupac, but Tupac had to check him and let him know that he don't roll that way. He only deal with women. He don't deal with no men. Well, P. Diddy didn't like that, and that started some of the beef then because of that. And he did a lot of manipulative things to Tupac and said crazy stuff about Kim Porter in her face to Tupac, and they got into it about it because Tupac did not like Diddy being disrespectful to Kim Porter. But go over to Goodreads Book Crew and check out the book, because I read it to you guys. But that's, if you all wanted to know how Chris Burgess was even linked to Kim Porter, that is how. He was friends with Tupac. And Kim Porter didn't like the fact of what Diddy did to Tupac. So, or anybody else for that matter. She didn't like anything that she was doing. So, like she put in her book that she was writing this book, and she started collecting them videos one by one so that she can use those for her protection. She felt like she would be able to blackmail Diddy and he wouldn't do anything to her because she had these videos and she can expose him. Well, he still did something anyway. I wish Courtney Burgess would have been came out with the information, but he's come out with it now. And the FBI that are prosecuting Diddy, they also have the information because they made him come down there. At first, he didn't want to come testify, but they made him. They even came to his house with warrants to make him come down there to testify, where they subpoenaed him or whatever, however you want to call it, and made him turn over the evidence. So the FBI has the evidence, and they have his sworn statement. He has an attorney. That same attorney is representing both him as well as Chris Todd, and you're going to hear her say all of that today in this video on Law and Order. Law and Crime. I love Law and Order, y'all. It's my shows. I all love them. I watch them all. But anyway, Law and Crime with Jesse Weber. And Diddy's sons, the Kim Porter two sons, they are threatening him. They trying to do him the same way they did Chris Todd with the cease and desist. So they're trying to make him not be able to sell his book and threatening to sue. So the attorney says, please sue us. Please sue us. She's representing Courtney Burgess as well as Chris Todd. Now Amazon did take Chris Todd book down because at that time Chris Todd could not reveal his source, but now the source is out. So they are going to be able to put the book back up. And she mentioned it one day, the attorney mentioned it when they was walking from the courthouse. She said that they was working with Amazon now and they was going to get the book back out and they was going to also release the full copy. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the interview.
We are sitting down with the attorney representing a potential key witness in the Sean Combs criminal case because he is right now in a mounting legal fight with the music mogul's sons. Christian and Quincy Combs are reportedly trying to stop the sale of a book about their late mother, Kim Porter, and the accusations are flying back and forth. We're going to get into it right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Another interesting side wrinkle in the Sean Diddy Combs case we got to talk about. You remember Courtney Burgess? We've talked about him before. He is the purported witness who testified in front of the grand jury, currently hearing new evidence in the Sean Combs criminal case. If you recall, Burgess went on Banfield on News Nation, and he revealed that he was given 11 flash drives that contain alleged sex tapes involving Combs and celebrities. And he said, of the 8 celebrities on the tapes, those who are victims of Sean Combs, they're not perpetrators, victims, he said 2 or 3 were minors, which, as you know, is consistent with a number of allegations in the civil lawsuits that Sean Combs is currently facing. To be clear, though, Combs is currently not criminally charged with anything with respect to minors. That could change, but right now, he's just charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, transportation to engage in prostitution, but all with respect to adult victims. If there's a superseding indictment, he gets hit with new charges, possibly about victims. We shall see. But this is what brings me to what we're talking about right now. So, Mr. Burgess has claimed that he got these flash drives from the late girlfriend of Sean Combs, Kim Porter, who, as we know, tragically died several years back from what authorities concluded was lobar pneumonia. And that is despite the fact that there have been rumors, both online and in the media, that there is something more to her death. And that, to be clear, totally unsubstantiated. That has been debunked. We've talked about it here on Sidebar multiple times. But putting that to the side, here...
It has not been debunked. He was talking to people who he feel is in the field, not people who actually was there and actually did any like autopsies. The man who initially did the autopsy also ended up passing away. So he can't say that it was debunked. Just like he said that he didn't believe Courtney Bridges. He's a reporter just like everybody else. So his word is not bond as well. Like you can't just believe. I mean, you can believe who you want to believe, but the man that he had come on there, they're just somebody that work in that field. They had nothing to do with the case. So it was not debunked. Just wanted to add that.
Here's the other thing with Mr. Burgess. He apparently says he owns the rights to a book that was reportedly based on the alleged memoir of Kim Porter. In fact, according to TMZ, Burgess' phone was seized by the feds, and on it was a copy of a flash drive with material that was used in this book. Here's the problem. Christian and Quincy Combs, these are the sons of... Here's the problem. Christian and Quincy Combs, these are the sons of Diddy and Kim Porter. Quincy's actually adopted by Diddy. But they are reportedly fighting back, and they have sent Burgess a cease and desist letter to prevent the further sale of this book. They argue this is just an attempt to capitalize on Porter's fame and that they own the rights to her IP, her intellectual property, like her diary entries, her potential manuscript. As her heirs, they own it. And they also want an...
Now, they could have owned it, like, if it was in her possession or in their possession when she passed away, but she gave this away before she passed. So if she gave this away to somebody before she passed, it no longer belongs to her. So yes, they may be the heirs to her possessions, but they can't take back something she gave it to who she wanted to give it to. If she wanted to leave it in the possessions of her kids, it would have been still at her home, still on her computer or wherever that they would have been able to access, or she would have given it to them. They was of age, the boys was of age, she could have given it to them. She didn't choose to give it to them, so they can't claim that property. That you can't claim something that she already has given to somebody else. That no, heirs or not, that it doesn't work that way.
Counting of current sales of the book. To be clear, though, they aren't acknowledging that there is, in fact, a long-lost memoir from their mother. In fact, they've actually denied that before when there was a similar book, a derivative work, we'll talk about that, published by this guy named Chris Todd on Amazon. They were adamantly fighting against that. They said that their mother wouldn't write this. But what they're basically saying is if something should exist, they own it. Burgess has responded, saying he owns the copyright in the book, that Porter gave him the rights to this manuscript, that the brothers are making, quote, a pathetic attempt, a, quote, desperate ploy to extort him, and this shows how bad their financial situation is, and he reportedly even suggests that Sean Combs is probably behind this. So a lot of back and forth between both sides, and I want to sort it out and at least get one side of the story on this. So with that, I want to bring in Ariel Mitchell. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's great to meet you. So the first question I had when I was reading about this, is this book from your client the same book as the one that was published by Chris Todd a few months ago? That was the one that was on Amazon before it was removed by Amazon. What's the connection there?
Yeah, so Chris did get the book from Courtney. Courtney has a more thorough copy of the book. When Chris published the book that was on Amazon, it was edited. So some of the passages were removed. Some of the pictures were removed, and I think there was like a forward or something that was added to the book. So it is a different version, but from the same, what in copyright law is called derivative work. So it derives from that work that Courtney has.
And just to be clear, Courtney's work, Courtney's book, is it currently being sold anywhere?
I'm not exactly sure. I believe Courtney has I was about to say, here's a woo-woo, welcome to downtown Miami. But I believe he is selling it on a website. I only came into that knowledge when I received the cease and desist letter from Quincy and Christian.
Got it. And in terms of the content of the book, what is this book about, the one from your client?
So I haven't taken the time to read the book either, but to my understanding, it's Kim Porter's memoir. So it's basically Kim Porter's stories. I haven't read, I shouldn't say that, I haven't read the entire book.
Sure.
I have read several excerpts from the book, several pages from the book. I haven't had time to sit down and read it in its entirety. But to my understanding, it purports to be from Kim Porter about experiences Kim Porter had.
And why do you think Christian and Quincy are so opposed to this coming out? Because they were opposed to the Chris Todd, as you said, derivative work coming out. They opposed to this. What is it about this piece of work that they're so opposed to?
Well, first it's talking about their father. And, you know, for even Quincy, that's his stepfather, but that's really the only father he knows. So, and then Christian, that's his doppelganger. Like, Christian and Diddy look exactly alike. So, and then you think about the other piece of it. Their father is the one who gave them money, wealth, fame. So you want to protect that at all costs, even if you know your father did something bad or wrong. I also feel like they don't have any identities without their father. So for their father to go down for this, and what child wants to think this about their parent? Think that their parent was this kind of heinous monster. So I think we have to maybe put ourselves in position how we would feel if this was one of our parents, and what would we do in this situation.
Hey, so I just want to jump away from this update in the Combs case for a quick minute because I got a question for all of you out there. I know this is super random, but are any of you business owners out there? Maybe those of you thinking of starting a business. The reason I ask is because we have this sponsor. It's known as Odoo, and it's a free all-in-one business manual. Does this memoir, alleged memoir, does it suggest that Sean Combs was abusive towards Kim Porter? Does it suggest that does it amplify this message that we've seen online that there's more to Kim Porter's death than meets the eye? I just want to be clear about what this book from your client really says.
So again, I'm going to reiterate, I have not read the entirety of the book. But from what I have read, it does support the allegations that have been made by Cassie, the allegations that have been made by the federal government, and the allegations that have been made by my clients, Tyrone Blackburn's clients, Tony Busby's clients. It's everybody is saying the same thing. And Kim Porter.
And from a person that read it, I agree. It does say it. And she also speaks that she said that Diddy threatened her. This was the reason she started getting those books, because Diddy came to her house one day with a gun, thinking another man was over there. And she was like, please don't do this. She was like, Quincy is in there asleep, da 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 da. And he said, I wouldn't even shoot you. He said, I wouldn't kill you that way. He said, I'd kill you where it's untraceable and they wouldn't be able to lead it back to me. And she put that in her book. That's what he said to her. That's what made her start writing the book. That's what made her start slowly sneaking a video. Each time she was over there, she'll steal another video. Well, she'll record it. She'll get a video, she'll record it, and then she'll put it back, and she'll get another one, and she'll record it, and then she'll put it back. So she was basically making copies of the videos each time, but she would only do like one at a time. But yes, he did tell her that he would kill her, but it would be untraceable. And it's crazy that all of them died from pneumonia, that anybody that had any dealings or close to Diddy, they all died from pneumonia. And then it also speaks about when she did get in relationship with other men, where Diddy would kill them, and they would be dying of pneumonia. And then y'all know, right before Diddy went to jail, his bodyguard was speaking out. One of his bodyguards spoke out and told a lot of the stuff and said that he was going to give more information. Then that man ended up dying of pneumonia, and then his videos are taken down. Let's get back into it.
I feel like we were only willing to hear these things once Cassie came out, and now we are starting to see from Kim Porter's experience that these were the exact same experiences.
So the main question that people would have here is, why would Kim Porter give your client this manuscript? What was that relationship? They were close enough where she would give him her memoir, her diary entries. Why would she do that?
So to my understanding, Courtney,
I've been loving Memoir for the last...
was really good friends with Tupac. I'm always trying to explain this. So in New York, we all know the East Coast, West Coast beef, right? Sure. We all have some knowledge of it. It's only cursory. So you have to imagine on the East Coast, there was two factions. There was the bad boy faction.
I'm going to rewind that just a little bit since that commercial cut in, because I want y'all to hear her say that he was friends with Tupac.
Imagine on the East Coast,
that.
So to my understanding, Courtney was really good friends with Tupac. I'm always trying to explain this. So in New York, we all know the East Coast, West Coast beef, right? Sure. We all have some knowledge of it. It's only cursory. So you have to imagine on the East Coast, there was two factions. There was the bad boy faction, and then there was Death Row East. So Death Row was starting to encroach upon Diddy's territory in New York. And there are a lot of people in New York who didn't like Diddy, who didn't want to rock with the bad boy East Coast, side of the East Coast, West Coast beef. So there were a bunch of people in New York, a faction, who were West Coast East Coasters, if you will. And Courtney was one of those people. So to my understanding, Courtney knew Kim through Tupac and Courtney's a industry insider, A&R, or a record exec who brought different people to labels to help them get into the music industry. So he knew producers, of managers, all these people in the music industry. And one day he was talking to a friend who was with Kim, and Kim was like, "Who are you talking to?" And he said, "I'm talking to Courtney B." And she said, "Oh, let me talk to him," because they knew each other through Tupac. And said to Courtney, "I got something because for you, I know you'll know what to do with it." And that's the next day is when Courtney got the flash drives, and one of the flash drives had the book on it. So I believe that if we're going to believe, let's say, that Kim really wanted this book to get out, and she knew there were only certain people she can trust, because there were more people in Diddy's pocket than were not in Diddy's pocket. Why wouldn't you go to his enemy, Diddy's enemy, which is people with the Tupac faction? And if you really want this information to get out, because anybody else is not going to get that information, because their loyalty will always lie to Diddy. So I think, just me using my brain and the information I have been given and my understanding just culturally about what is going on, because it's my culture, it makes sense to me how Courtney ended up with this.
You don't anticipate that this is going to escalate into some sort of lawsuit and this going to court? And it sounds like if it is, you're ready to fight back against it.
Not only fight back, we're ready to countersue for defamation and other things, other torts. But I would invite them. If you're watching this, please, I beg of you, please sue us. That'll be the best day of my life and the worst mistake you'll ever make.
Why is the issue of Kim Porter and this book and Courtney maybe trying to publish it, why is that coming out now?
Well, I think what initially happened was when the book was first published on Amazon by Chris Todd.
Right.
So that kind of created, it was number one for weeks on Amazon, actually, number one bestseller.
Yep.
To my understanding, at the last count, sold almost like 30,000 copies in that range. So it was really selling. So then there was a time where Chris was doing all these interviews, and then there was something going on behind the scenes, because I had known Chris since August. That's when I initially met Chris, and I didn't meet Courtney until 2 days before, on the 31st. I didn't meet him until October 29th. So I didn't know who he was. Chris did represent the entire time, even with the book, because we did start talking about, first he came to me like, "Oh, I have some information that may be relevant to the cases you have against Diddy." And that kind of morphed into, "Well, we have this stuff. We don't know what to do or how to use it. Can we get some legal advice or direction?" And I'm like, we don't want to tread on extortion, just kind of trying to get an understanding for what they had and what they understood. But Chris never told me about Courtney. He told me he had a partner, but never told me who Courtney was. And then all of a sudden one day I see Chris is doing interviews about the book. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then shortly thereafter, I get a call from Courtney saying that he just was served with a summons by the federal government. And then I went back and saw an interview that Courtney had done on October 20th, where he is now stepping out of the shadows, saying that he's the one who had the tapes. He was the one who had the book. And that's how all of this came out. And I feel that that interview Courtney did October 20th is what led to the summons and the subpoena from the federal government. Because now, if he's saying he has all of these things, he's now, and I think something no one is keeping in mind. We've seen all of these victims file civil lawsuits, right? But why hasn't the government called them as witnesses before the grand jury, right? You would think those would be people that would be called.
Do you know for sure? Do you know for sure they haven't?
Well, I don't, to my understanding, at least none of my clients have been called.
Sure,
and
fair enough.
I know other lawyers, and I've talked to them, and none of their, at least I'll say this, none of their clients who already have active lawsuits have been called. Now, there might be some other people who have been called, but those people are not plaintiffs in a civil litigation. However, with Courtney doesn't have a lawsuit against Diddy. He's not a victim of Diddy. So I think the other part of this is being an unbiased third party. So the government is really the credibility that they felt that he had and the information that they believed him to have based on what he said in an interview on October 20th. They issued a summons for him 4 days later. They issued a summons for him and a subpoena October 24th, and they didn't serve it to him till October 28th. And then I talked to him October 29th, and then we went to the grand jury testimony on the 31st. So that was like the progression of those things. But I think it's just a culmination of the government is trying to look for all relevant information, people who purport to have relevant information, especially people who can't come across as untainted because they don't have a bias. And, you know, every civil litigant does have a bias in seeing him go to jail. We all want to see him go to jail, not only for the benefits of our cases, but because our clients were really injured. And the ultimate penalty is having your freedom taken away. But Mr. Burgess isn't somebody who's unbiased. So I really feel like between his unbiased perspective and what he purported to say he had, I know, and it also relates to what I said as well, because we had a separate hearing and the prosecutors brought up what I said in my interview as well.
By the way, what is, if you can tell us, any plans for him to come back to the grand jury to testify?
No, we were able to waive and close our testimony.
So in other words, what they wanted from him, they have at this point.
They have.
Yeah. Well, I am curious to see where this goes. Ariel Mitchell, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you breaking it down for us. And so nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you too.
And by the way, I should tell you that Combs' legal team have called Courtney's claims false and outrageous and clearly just denying all of them. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of Sidebar, everybody. We really appreciate it. And as always, please subscribe.
All right, you guys, so that's the end of the video. We watched it in its entirety. You guys heard what Courtney Burgess' attorney had to say and how he got the evidence, how he got the memoir, gave the details about Chris Todd as him publishing the book. So Chris Todd was indeed working with Courtney Burgess, and at first he would not release his source, but once Courtney got served that subpoena with those papers, he reached out to the attorney. So he did reveal his source, and he's been doing interviews as well. So you guys, that is it. I just wanted to bring it to the you guys' attention, give you an update on it. And she is welcoming. She's welcoming the lawsuit. She's like, please sue us. That means that she know that they got proof and they got evidence, because, you know, when you sue somebody, they have to bring out the evidence. And some people, they tend to, like how with Diddy, when he went ahead and settled with Cassie, because he knew that if he would have gone through with if they would have gone through with the lawsuit, they was going to bring out all of that information. So he didn't want all of the stuff coming out. Any proof or evidence she had, all of that would have came out and been public. So this attorney wants Diddy kids to sue them so she can bring out the information, all of the evidence that they have. And then, like she said, she going to turn around and she going to counter sue them because they have no knowledge or no clue of what they're talking about. They just taking up for their daddy. Courtney Burgess said that they trying to just get money, but I doubt if they trying to get money. I'm sure Diddy knew he was going to jail. I'm sure he left them some money and, you know, everything so they can have a stable livelihood. But I do believe that Diddy is behind them, trying to make them stop the sale of the book. They don't want the proof to be out there. But yeah, Kim Porter mentioned all of that and said that he was gonna kill her, that if he killed her, it wasn't going to be traceable, so people would think it was a natural cause. And then she mentioned about the other people that he has taken out as well. She also mentioned about when Biggie mom came and talked to him. It was Biggie mom, it was Diddy, and it was Kim Porter, and she flat out asked him, did you kill my son? Yeah. Child. And Kim heard him plotting. He didn't even care that Kim Porter was around. He would just say stuff in front of her. He plotted to kill Tupac, and he plotted to kill Biggie. Yeah. But thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Click that bell notification for all so that you never miss an upload. And make sure you guys are liking the video. Share the video if you can. And leave a comment down below. Thank you for your support. And as we say before we go, love, peace, and hair grease. Smooches. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend.